Today, we're gonna play with Sephora versus Ulta makeup. It's literally the Sephora brand versus Ulta brand. We have a full face, and it's going to be 1-to-1 to see what wears better, how everything applies. Let's go for it. I am going to introduce a primer, but we are going to do it on both sides. I just really wanna see if the shadows will stick really well to this primer, if they're going to crease or they're just gonna look bomb at the end of the night. And I'm using the Milani, their eyeshadow primer. Okay, eyeshadow time. From Ulta, we chose their everyday faves. This one retails for $20. And then for Sephora eyeshadow palettes, this is light warm eyeshadow palette, and then this is deep cool. Each retail for $14 each. And I'm thinking the one from Ulta, this one looks really similar. Let me try this shadow right here. That looks very similar actually. Okay, let's go with that. All right, right side Ulta, left side Sephora. Yeah, that feels good on top of the primer. And it definitely looks more orange on the skin tone versus in the palette. So because from that to that looks really orange on the eyes. And I can feel it just crumbling down my face just because it is such a dry formula. Then taking the Sephora, same with my ring finger. Oh, this is so pretty. And this is also dry, but it feels a little more creamy and soft. So I think I'm just gonna leave it like that and then go in with something a little bit darker to kind of, actually first let's go with the eyeliners. So for the Ulta, we chose their gel eyeliner and it retails for $8. We chose, what color is this? Chocolate. And then for Sephora, we have the Glide Liner, and it is waterproof. And this shade is Brown Chestnut number 2. This is $14. So 8 versus 14. So let's go in first. Let's work one eye at a time just because I don't know how fast they set and I wanna make sure I have a little bit of time. I'm gonna take and draw it on right here. Try to look straight ahead. Very creamy, quite pigmented when you press on it. And then I'm gonna take a flat shader brush. So just kind of stamp it on there. I really like how pigmented the shadows are, so that's really nice. As well as same thing to Sephora. This one seems a little bit richer. It's definitely not as chocolatey. I'd say it's a little more black. And this one's kind of skipping and kind of balling up, which is not good. I'm gonna take a different flat shader brush, go in here and take this shader right here. Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot richer. You can see right there, that's the eyeliner underneath my eyes. It's like flaking. For mascara time, we're gonna go with the Ulta's Twisted Volume Mascara. I featured this one before, but it's literally a wand that twists to this cool little, I say it's a DNA. That's what it reminds me of. This one retails for $10.50. And then this is the Sephora Lash Craft Big Volume Mascara. I believe it's $14. This is more of a typical wand. It has also densely packed boar bristles. Let's go with Ulta and put this on. You can see just how black it is already. And it's definitely that more of a thick, stickier formula, just so you can really build up that volume. The one problem with this mascara I find is that you can really clump the lashes so fast. Let's go with Sephora. And this formula is similar to the Ulta in terms of how thick it is, but this one seems a little more waxy. This is definitely a lot more wet. They're both a little heavier formulas, so keep that in mind, but I feel like you have a little bit more control with the Ulta just because of this brush. So I feel like this side has a little bit more drama and volume and length. This side is a little more wispy and soft. Foundation-wise, we're gonna do this one from Ulta. This is their Effortless Effect Medium Coverage Hydrating Foundation. And the one thing that's kind of putting me off about it already, the way it slides down, it looks so oily and greasy. If that's what it's going to do on my face, It says it's infused with hyaluronic acid, acai berry, and pomegranate extracts to help even skin tone appearance, and then antioxidant vitamin E helps protect from free radical damage. Sounds great, all of the above. Why not? Whoa, it's really thick. Oh my gosh, that's like serious thickness. That's very white. Oh man. Oh boy. Well, this is what we're working with. This is the second darkest shade that we have. We'll make it work. As of right now, It's not blending very effortlessly like it says in the name. Effortless effect. Wow, I really have to like press really hard. That's not good. And then when you press a little hard, it kind of just moves the product around and creates these bald spots. And the finish, I would say it's definitely more of a natural matte finish. It's not hydrating, it's not dewy, it doesn't have a luminous finish. Okay, this is not what I expected from this foundation at all. Foundation for Sephora. This is their best skin ever foundation. I love that name. This is a medium buildable coverage for a look of naturally perfected skin. So this right here retails for $20. And they do recommend to use this with a brush. I'm just gonna shake it up. Also quite thick, but this one feels a little more serum-y. I feel like this one's a little bit easier to blend, but I think I would prefer them both with like a dampened sponge. Sephora has a little bit more of a natural, a tiny bit of a dewy finish versus Ulta. I would say natural because you can still see a little bit of that kind of highlight popping on my cheek even though there's nothing underneath, just catching the lights, but it's definitely a lot more matte and it's really focusing on the dry spots on my face and it's really exaggerating any kind of textures like fine lines and wrinkles that I have going on and my peach fuzz. It's really kind of exaggerating and bringing it to the surface with the Ulta. I've had time to set the Ulta side and it still feels a little bit tacky, which again, it's a more hydrating foundation, but because the texture is so thick, I'm really hoping it sets because both sides right now, they feel like I can kind of feel the foundation sitting on there. For eyebrows, for Ulta, we have their Ultra Slim Brow Pencil. I do really like this one. It's just finding the right shade for my eyebrows. You guys know how picky I am with my shades. This retails for $10. And then for Sephora, this is their retractable brow pencil, but it's waterproof. They're both very similar, very slim micro pencil like tips, which is really nice, both very creamy. And the Sephora pencil retails for $12. Whereas always upping the Ulta with the price. So let's start off with Ulta. You have a spoolie, a really nice thin spoolie, which is perfect. And then nice retractable pencil. Just even the way it draws on, it's really nice. It's very creamy. It looks like it's blending really nice as well. Moving on to Sephora. Like I said, I chose Midnight Brown, and this one looks a little bit darker and a little bit warmer to the Ulta. So I'll have to be a little bit more light-handed with this side. Okay, this one's definitely a lot more creamy. I would say this is really good for a quick eyebrow, and you can see how easily that blended in. For brow gel, we have the clear brow gels from both Sephora and Ulta. For Ulta, this is just their brow gel clear, $10. And then the Sephora one, this is their clear brow gel for $12. You open it up for Ulta, the tiniest little spoolie ever. Let's go for it. It literally looks like there's nothing on here, but there is because you can feel it and you can see it. And usually with clear brow gels, depends how you tame your brows. You can really see if it's gonna work within the first 5 minutes. Sephora, a lot bigger as you can see. This formula seems a little bit more wet versus the Ulta, it's a little bit more sticky. This side looks a little bit more stuck together, like the brow hairs. This one looks a little bit more separated. For concealers, you probably have guessed I would have mentioned this one. This is one of my favorite concealers ever. This is by Ulta. This is their full coverage liquid concealer and it is waterproof. Never tried the Sephora concealer. This is their Bright Future Gel Serum Concealer. And this description, the way they describe it, it sounds very similar to the Ulta. And they're saying this one is, it's smooth, it's undetectable coverage, which sounds really nice. It doesn't sound like it's a full coverage. This retails for $14. So going with Ulta, I have these two right here, Fair Cool and then Light Cool. Just the way it blends, so easy, so seamless. As you can see, it just gives a really beautiful natural finish. It's just a really nice concealer, especially for the price. It's a really beautiful concealer. All right, let's move on to Sephora. Oh boy, that is very light. This one is definitely a lighter formula. It's not as creamy. It's definitely a little more serum-y than the Ulta, but let's see if a little goes a long way also. I might need to build up this coverage because it looks like it's definitely not full coverage as the Ulta. Mascara to the lower lash line. I'm gonna be honest, I don't love this mascara for the lower lash line for Ulta, just because, like I said, it can make your lashes look really clumpy. And then Sephora. For bronzers, we have Ulta's Natural Glow Matte Bronzer. We had got shade Light, and this is supposed to have a light coconut smell. a scent and it just does not smell good. But this retails for $10. And then we have Sephora, their bronzer powder, also a matte bronzer. And this retails for $18. And we picked up shade number 2, Mallorca, which is a light shade as well. So we picked up both light. I feel like the Mallorca for Sephora is a little bit warmer and this one is a little more cool tone. So we'll see how it blends together. It's very minimal, like extremely minimal. I think I would want to go with something a little bit warmer on top, a little more intense. Let's move on to Sephora side. And you do get a mirror with the Sephora, which is nice. Yeah. It's a lot warmer and definitely shows up on the face a lot faster. Moving on to blushes. I'm really excited for this right here. This is by Ulta. This is their blush trio. And we got the shade or the palette called Sweet Rose. And then for Sephora, I think it's just they're called Perfection Blush Duo. $16, and you have 2 shades here, which I think would look really pretty, mixing them together to match that middle shade. So let's first go in with Ulta. And then just with this, I'm just gonna take it, basically just kind of blend it together. Ooh, that's actually quite pigmented, it looks like. We'll see. Oh yeah, this is very pigmented. I feel like this blush trio is a lot more forgiving. It's not as pigmented, but the way it blends, I mean, look at that difference. I feel like it did a much better job. And you can see there's definitely some type of a sheen happening with this blush right here. All right. Moving on to the lips, we have lip liners. This is by Ulta. This is their automatic lip liner and in shade Mocha. And these each retail for $8. And then for the Sephora, this is their Rouge Gel Lip Liner. And we picked up, this shade is Hot Sauce, number 32. Mocha and Hot Sauce. And each Sephora lip liner is $13. So how I was going to do this is literally half and half again, and just kind of use either my finger or like a little blending brush in the center to kind of make sure it blends together. These are extremely pigmented and very creamy. I'd say these are a lot creamier than the Ulta. I'm barely pressing and you can see that crazy pigment. Lipsticks. For Ulta, we have their Luxe lipstick, retailing for $9 each. And we picked up shade Social Status. Social Status, very beautiful. And then for Sephora, this is their hashtag Lip Stories lipstick, which is so cute. $9. Satin finish in shade number 3, called Wee. Ooh, a little more pinky, but kind of similar. Okay, right off the bat, I think I prefer the Sephora, just the way it applies is really creamy. It even feels better on the lips. The Ulta one, it's a little thicker, but and I think you can even see on the lips, the Sephora, it's a lot more shiny versus this side, it's a little bit more of like a very soft satin finish, which is not bad. Now that we're done, everything looks very similar. I feel like if anything, you could nitpick the cheeks just a little bit, maybe the eyes if you look really close, because the eyes, they look a little bit darker with the eyeshadow and the eyeliner. But the one thing I will say, from the very beginning to the very end with these products, Ulta, a little drier, a little more chalky. The formulas, they were a little bit more of a matte to a natural finish versus Sephora side. Everything was a little bit more creamy and a little more pigmented. I think both of them have great products and both of them have not so great products. We'll keep you guys updated and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Doing the first update outside because I really wanted to see the texture out here. The texture's not looking so great. It definitely looks worse right here on the Sephora side. On the Ulta side, everything's just still looking quite dry and like the lines are a little bit exaggerated, the peach fuzz is exaggerated. But on this side, the way the makeup is breaking apart underneath, like the foundation, it honestly looks like it's a little bit blistering. It's not, it's just like little tiny bumps all over. When I'm touching it, I can't really feel the tiny bumps. It's just the way the makeup is really breaking apart. The other thing that I noticed was the mascara on the left side, it's transferring a tiny bit from the Sephora side. You can see on the lower part right here underneath the eye, you can see a little bit of shadowing, some black like smudging. And then on this side, you can see a little bit of flaking, just a tiny bit from the Ulta side. The eyeshadow both looks pretty good on both sides. The primer is doing a great job. Neither side is creasing. I'm looking a little bit shiny right here in the center and a little bit more towards the Sephora side. But to begin with, the Sephora side had a little bit more of a glow, but the Ulta side, yes, it's looking a little drier. Everything just looks a little more crackly. And then the Sephora side, it's a little bit, like the cheeks still look pretty good, but yeah, something happening right here, the way it's separating towards the chin and just on the side of my mouth, it does not look good. Final check-in for Sephora versus Ulta. I'm noticing I'm having some kind of reaction right here in the center of my forehead. I personally don't think it has anything to do with foundations. It's just, you know, a womanly thing. Okay, so overall, everything still looks kind of similar from the first check-in. I feel like both sides are pretty even. Like I'm talking, there's a little bit of shininess right here on both sides. A little bit of the foundation has worn off on both sides as well, pretty evenly. I'm still looking quite matte on the Ulta side, and I'm looking a little more matte on the Sephora side as well. I still have a little bit of that shadow happening underneath the Sephora mascara, and I just see that one little tiny fleck right here on the Ulta side. So the Ulta mascara definitely has a little bit more longevity, but you can get a little bit of flaking just because of that type of formula. It's really thick, which I'm surprised I didn't get more than this, to be honest with you. Moving on to the eyeshadow, I think both sides still look quite good. I want to say I see a little bit of transfer right here. I'm not sure if you guys can pick it up, but a tiny bit into that tiny little crease. But this side looks really good, and I will reiterate, I prefer the Ulta eyeliner. It's very creamy, very pigmented. The way it blended out really nice. You still had a little bit of playing time, but it kind of just really set in place. The Sephora side, yes, it was a little bit more pigmented because the color was a little bit darker, but just that formula, it was so waxy and kind of sticky that it balled up so fast in little certain areas, and it wasn't blending as really easy. It wasn't as creamy. So yes, it was a lot darker, but the color was a lot darker than that brown. Just overall, everything on the Sephora side was pigmented. A lot of it was creamier, it blended a lot easier, but then some of the products didn't really blend that well. They weren't as creamy, not as full coverage. And then the Ulta side, everything kind of fell short in terms of pigment and creaminess and then blendability. I think the one thing was the foundation. I think that was like my biggest, like, whoa, what is this? It's a very weird formula. It's not hydrating by any means. Like my face doesn't feel hydrated, it doesn't feel good. It just feels tight. Everything just kind of is exaggerated. I also don't like the Sephora foundation. I think I both would appreciate using a dampened sponge just because that formula is so thick for both sides. Next, the concealer. Yes, Ulta is it's a lot more full coverage. So I feel like you had to use a little bit more product with the Sephora, which is totally fine because it blends really beautifully. I think the one product I didn't really enjoy was the blush, which is surprising because I think the color is so stunning, but it just kind of had a hard time blending out. But on the Sephora side for the cheeks, the bronzer was phenomenal, super blendable. And then the Ulta side, that's kind of where it fell short. I like the blushes for the Ulta, but I didn't like the bronzer. So it's kind of like flip-flop to me personally. Every side has their pluses and minuses. I think they both were pretty equal. They both had their issues. I think if you are trying to look into Sephora, definitely check out their eyebrow pencils. The eyebrow pencil, the bronzers are really beautiful. The concealers are really nice. They're very lightweight. The eyeshadows were actually pretty nice. And then from the Ulta side, definitely check out their concealer, check out their blushes, check out their brow pencils as well. Check out their eyeshadow palette. I think the Sephora resonated closer to what was in the palette versus Ulta because when it went into my eyes, they pulled really warm and red. I'm really happy I did 1-2-1 to really see how close they are because Sephora is a little bit more expensive versus Ulta is a little bit more affordable. But for now, you guys, thank you for watching and spending time with me, and I'll see the next one very soon.